Hello and welcome along to another episode of our weekly stadium review series, Review the 92. Each week, myself and co-host Tom talk about a ground we visited out of the English football pyramid. At the moment, down to League Two, but I'm sure we might get desperate if football is off for much longer. However, this week, after a few trickier ones, we have got what should be the easiest on paper. The ground that we have both probably visited the most, and the ground that is closest to the area we were both born, which is Kenilworth Road, home of Luton Town. So for me, I'm a season ticket holder. This is very easy. For Tom, you have been to probably, I would guess, near or over 100 games at the ground, because you had a season ticket a couple of seasons.
Yeah, but I didn't use it fully. Yeah, I think I've probably have been to the Emirates more than Kenilworth Road now, because the last 5 or so years I've barely been to any home games. But yeah, as a kid, we'd have a lot of Saturdays, so yeah.
Absolutely. So right. I've got a feeling this one's going to be more detailed. And the interesting thing about this week for me is most of the sort of unique features about Kenilworth Road that we're going to probably be talking about relate to the away end or times gone by before we were born. So for that, I need people who are away fans to help us out this week. But we'll start as always with the stats. If you do enjoy this episode, please put a thumbs up on it. And please subscribe down below for an episode every week as we talk about Kenilworth Road in Luton, Bedfordshire. So, interestingly located, Kenilworth Road is a 10,356 all-seater stadium, including some boxes, which is a topic we'll come on to in a moment. It was built and opened in 1905. Luton have been trying to get away from it for about 65 years, to my knowledge. And it looks like, with planning permission now sealed, they finally will be in the next few years. The record attendance at the ground is 30,069. This was in 1959 for an FA Cup 6th round replay against Blackpool, obviously at a time where Luton were doing very well in the FA Cup. However, the ground became all-seater in 1991, and it's largely famous for 3 things. So the first thing is for having one of the worst plastic pitches in the country in the late 80s. The second thing is for having a stand that is entirely executive boxes, which has happened since the 90s. And the third, as we've seen by 100 or probably more like 100,000 videos on YouTube, is the entrance to the away end, which is through a terrace street and multiple back gardens. So, talk to me about Kenilworth Road, Tom. Your earliest memories. Do you remember when your first game was there? Because it won't have been the same as mine.
No, you'd have gone a few seasons before, I think. I think my first... So it would have been my first ever football match because, as I said, we both grew up in Luton. So I believe it was around the time of my 10th birthday.
Okay.
So maybe quite late going to your first live game. 2002, the autumn of 2002. I think Luton would have been the championship team or league.
2002, back up to League One. So we're in League One.
League One, okay. I think it was QPR. I don't really remember the game. I think we sat in the main stand. I think my granddad took myself and my younger brother. Yeah, that's what's quite good about talking about Kenilworth Road because we can talk. I think together we've sat in. Apart from I've never been in the boxes, in the posh sheets, but I've sat everywhere else you can sit. The family stand, behind both goals, the main stand, upper and lower. So,
I'm trying to think if I've sat in the family stand.
David Freeze.
We did for a pre-season friendly, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm quite excited to talk about Kenilworth Road, a ground we can really go into detail with.
Absolutely. So my first game was October 1999, which was Luton v Gillingham. I only remember this because when I did work experience there, I had to write about it in a matchday programme because they didn't have a guest that week. So for that one, Luton had just come out of administration, a story which continued throughout my
life.
The Lenny Lawrence era this time. And then I found a hero in Stuart Douglas because he scored on that day and became my favourite player. So varying memories. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, the first game we went to together to Luton was Luton v Birmingham in the Championship.
I think I remember. Was it 4-2? Was it like a really exciting?
3-2. 3-2.
It's an exciting game, and I think. So I'm an Arsenal fan as well, and like Birmingham had a few of Arsenal's kids on loan, didn't they? Like the Bentners and
Giroud,
Seb Larson.
Maybe.
Giroud was definitely there. Johan Giroud, yeah, good game. I think Neil Dan scored for them. I seem to remember.
That's
yeah,
good memory.
Yeah, was that the first game you think we went to together? Again, with my granddad have been with us as well.
It was, and I got told off that game by one of Luton's most famous fans. Luton fans will probably see him around with his pin badges on. He told me off for being negative about the team when I got upset about a pass, I think, that went awry. Wasn't too vocal, and I've since seen him complain at multiple games, which is very ironic. But I largely drifted to the Kenilworth stand after that. So I think that's our first joint memory of the ground.
What year were we saying that was?
That was 05-06, first year in the Championship.
Okay, we left it quite late then to go to a game together, yeah.
So, I mean, I didn't go too much in between, probably aside from that 99-2000 season. But then when we went back down to League One in 07-08, that's when the prices started dropping. We were at the end of school age near enough, and we just started going regularly then.
Yeah, we started, 15, we started to become a bit more independent and could go down by ourselves. And yeah, that's when we both started getting into going to football on a regular basis.
Absolutely. So I suppose we've got to try and be impartial here as we talk about the four main areas we rank each ground on. I apologise in advance if this gets the highest score of the series, and I'm happy in the comments to be corrected as long as you're polite about it. And obviously, as we said, we want to get the experience of away fans, both previously when there used to be a stand on the left, and also for those fans now where you're sharing the away end, which never used to happen as well. So there are a few different changes to talk about. But let's start with atmosphere. And this is where it's very hard because most times we're judging a ground on one game or two games at most that we've been to. I think the most we had was Cambridge where I had 3 or 4. But even then, I've not had a huge selection. But for this one, we're talking about a ground that we visited hundreds of times, seen plenty of times in the National League where there was not really any atmosphere, and plenty of crazy midweek games where there have been intense atmospheres.
Pitch invasions.
Dramatic penalty shootouts, one of the best FA Cup ties of our lifetime that still gets played on the TV all the time, and then a follow-up 2 years later which we went to, which was almost as dramatic as well. So I don't really know how to be fair here. All I can do is give it a ranking at its best, and on my first occasion where it was nearly a full house and it was brilliant.
Yeah, again, I expect, and probably deservedly so, we will be accused of being biased and impartial here, and that's bound to happen. But I honestly believe when the 10,000, if the stadium is packed and Luton are playing well, and the fans start going, then, or people say it's an intimidating place to play, and the Luton fans always say home advantage is a big thing for us because the Luton fans are very vocal, and I do honestly believe the atmosphere at Kenilworth Road is something to be proud of for anyone connected to Luton Town Football Club. I think it's a very good atmosphere.
I wouldn't disagree. I guess the main things to talk about to back up my probable bias is this season, night games at Kenilworth Road, Luton haven't lost despite being in a relegation zone in the Championship, which suggests that something's going right. And I think they've won all but one of them as well. I mean, some of the former pros we've spoken to have all mentioned that tight nature of you're basically on the players, aren't you? You're sitting that front row where my season ticket is what, a metre from the pitch at most?
Yeah. If an opposition player takes a corner near where you're sat,
you can touch them when they're doing a run.
You could literally slap his head, can you? Yeah. It's like that close.
Please don't slap their heads. Please don't.
No, not condoning violence, but just saying, like, compared to the other ground I mentioned that I often visit, the Emirates, you're so far, or you sit so far away, even if you're on the front row, that you do lose something. Something is lost in the process of moving the fans back. And I get modern stadium safety and all that. You need that, and Kenilworth Road maybe is not fit for purpose in 2020. Hence, Luton want to move so badly. But it is special when the atmosphere gets going and the fans are singing.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, I have to give it a very good ranking because I've seen it at its best. So I'm not going to just suddenly get rid of those memories. I'm going to give it a 9, and the reason I'm not going to give it a 10, and try one to be fair, but secondly, because the only thing that is an issue is that whole stand is boxes to the right, which means you don't get that full reverb feeling. And equally, as much as those boxes can be great, because again, like you say, you can lean over that box and touch a player, you can talk to the manager, you can hear every single word that's being said. It's still not the ideal purpose for a modern stadium. So I think that's the only area it loses it. But otherwise, the other 3 stands, the atmosphere can be so intense if it needs to be. And being close to the pitch is so important.
I agree. The boxes have always annoyed me.
Yeah.
Aesthetically, they look quite ridiculous. and yeah, you do lose out on a whole other stand that could be generating a really great atmosphere. So I'm going to go an 8, I think, because I could do a 9 easily, but I want to try and be as fair as possible. And it's not rocking every single game.
No.
We can't lie and say it's constantly intimidating and we're always cheering on the team for 90 minutes a game. That's not the case. So I'll give it an 8. And I want to ask you a question. What's the best atmosphere you think you've experienced at Kenilworth Road?
I think possibly, and I think you might have been there, that semi-final of the Johnston Paint Trophy when we beat Brighton on penalties.
Pitch invasion.
When Conrad Logan saved about half the penalties. That was an incredible night. Ian Roper had the game of his life. I mean, he can barely move the bloke. He was incredible. And it was a season we started with -30 without all the politics. We knew we were going down to the conference from the start. That night was probably one of the most special things I've ever seen and any football ground, to be brutally honest.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was us two, and I think Greenie was with us as well, yeah. Another friend. And I think we walked back after it and sat at Joel's fish shop and just were like, I think we had to almost like come down. It was such a high. Yeah. It was like we had to like soak it in. Like that, did that really just happen?
It was incredible.
Because the penalty shootout was right in front of our goal as well, wasn't
it?
Yeah. And then we were on the front row, like where you normally sit now. It was like, we've got to get on the pitch. We just like I think like Greenie was one of the first ones to get on the pitch, wasn't he? Sort of like darted on. It was like just the adrenaline. You're just like, I know we shouldn't be doing this, but come on, like
it was just a wonderful moment.
Yeah.
There have been a few since winning promotions and titles, and the bounce back the last few years. I mean, some of the FA Cup ties, the Liverpool one, the one all at home when John Arnorisa thankfully got us a replay. Probably saved the club that day, John Arnorisa. So thanks to him if you ever see this. But yeah, that's probably the best I've seen, and I'm sure you'll probably agree with that.
Yeah, that's up there. I think you're right. Brighton in the semi-final of the Johnston Paint Trophy, which Luton went on to win.
Yep, and that was another good day out. Let's move on to location. So this is where we probably have to try and be a bit fairer. So it's only, in terms of walking distance, 10 to 15 minutes from the train station, probably 15 to the away end, to be fair. It's in a fairly central location. It's only 5 minutes away from the town centre, a couple of minutes walk from a big supermarket, and a few other little shops that are about there. There's a KFC and all the little bits on the way on the road. However, it is in the middle of a suburb of Luton, obviously, which is quite heavily and densely populated, which causes quite a lot of issue on match days with traffic, thinking as an away fan. Public transport links are quite difficult there because buses and that barely run down that road. And I know they've got the busway now, but I wouldn't say that that's clearly obvious to people when you're getting off the train. And I can't say it's brilliantly advertised. So I think we have to be fair in location. As much as it's great and convenient for us most of the time, it's probably not perfect as a football ground. And hence, again, Luton have been trying to move location for years and years.
Yeah, I'm just trying to work out what would your route be if you arrived into Luton and by train. Maybe it wouldn't be the most straightforward route, would it? I don't know. And
the last few years, the council have helped. They've put up little signs of the grounds this way and whatever. But before that, I would say, before the days of Google Maps, you'd probably be struggling.
Yeah, and you're right. It is a very residential area, and we shake our heads every time, don't we? Like after the game, walking down Hazelbury Crescent, and it's like, why are people driving up this street now? Surely you could. There's a 10 minutes either side, and you'd be all right. But why are you driving up now? Don't you know? Surely, if you live around here, you understand. But yeah, it can be a bit chaotic. Kind of sometimes coming in and out of the ground, and then they close Beach Path. Is it Beach Path? They
close Beach Path and Oak Road now, unfortunately, because we're back in the big time. And I guess that's the thing that you say rightly is Luton have been trying to move to the town centre, in which case it will probably get a 10 in future. It'll be one of the best there is. But for now, I don't think I can give it higher than a 6 if I'm being honestly fair. It's not a big walk. It's not miles out of the way, but it's not a good location.
If you are proficient with Google Maps, then it would be relatively straightforward and quick to get from the Luton train station to the ground. So I'll give it a 7. I guess it's not a very scenic walk. No. It's not a great walk. So
it's bordering on a horrible walk, isn't it? I guess the other thing is taking into account, we keep talking about, for me, from Luton going to Northern grounds. The Luton ground or Luton train station is not very well connected to the north. Most of the time you have to go from Milton Keynes and then get a coach or Stevenage and then a bus. So I guess I have to factor that in as well.
Yeah, that is annoying. Luton is not on a very convenient train line if you're a football fan.
I guess for most it's London and back up, isn't it?
Mm.
Which is a pain. But 6 I think is fair. That's kind of value. Now, again, it's very easy to rank it over certain years where it's had differing levels of value. But we have to rank it on the current time, which is now. So they have 3 categories in the Championship this year, which are 20, 25 and 30 for A, B and C. Now, the thing is, and you mentioned it earlier on, the ground isn't fit for purpose or its demand anymore. So Luton is one of the only clubs outside probably the top 6 or 7 in the Premier League that have a waiting list for season tickets, which is astounding at this club now. And the reason, I guess, for Category A games, like a Leeds, for an example, is going to be £30 is because they only need 3,000 people out of 200 in the town to buy the tickets to sell out. So are they charging a premium because they're trying to survive and pay a new stadium? We shouldn't take that into our judgment. And most of the games, it has to be fair, are Category B and 25. But still, I wouldn't be happy with 30 quid because most of the games have been cheaper this year.
Yeah, you can try and justify it, but I feel like we didn't grant the other clubs that leeway if they had like similar financial issues. £30 in the second tier does sound quite high, doesn't it?
But I have another question on that, is that when we're going to away grounds, if they have category pricing, Luton is almost certainly going to be a Category C. And most of them have been more than 20 quid. So that's the thing I don't know.
Yeah, we're a small club in the league now and still paying quite expensive away tickets. I'm looking at you, QPR.
Yes, we'll get to that one.
Yeah, good point. 30 quid though. You know what I do every time? I compare it to what I pay at Arsenal. And Arsenal, I think Arsenal's Category B, I think, is like 35.
So 10.
And Arsenal are famously and quite rightly slaughtered for their ticket pricing.
Yeah.
And so to think Luton for a league game don't charge too far for that.
Yeah.
Again, after taking into consideration, it's quite novel for Luton to be back in the Championship, so I'm used to Luton's pricing going from the conference up, and now it's just obviously as Luton go up the leagues, the pricing will follow. So
yeah,
it's going to take some getting used to think Luton are charging for some games £30 for a league game. So taking everything into consideration, I think I would give that 6. I think I'd give it a 6.
I think based on this season, the only fair answer is 6. I mean, I am judging it on most games being 25 because that's the fair middle price. But still, for the ground you get, lots of the seats aren't hugely covered from the elements, even though there are roofs. It's not brilliantly covered, and most of the roof is broken, particularly above my head. But also, I guess
not good in hailstorms. That's
not good in hailstorms. We've learnt that the hard way. And doesn't do great with snow and sludge, as Edgar Davids will tell you back in the day. I will bear in mind, though, that when we were in the National League, we got season tickets for 50 quid. When we were in League 2 and League 1, the highest prices were £20 and £22 respectively, which would be fine again, probably a 7 rather than a 6. But for this season, I give it a 6, but I understand the reasons. And I'm sure when they move to a new ground, they'll be as reasonable as they can be then.
2 follow-up questions, putting you on the spot. Do you know if the prices dropped considerably for cup games this season? Have they dropped?
So the Leicester game was Category C, which was 20. And have we had any other cup games there? I don't think we have. Yeah, because we lost away in the cup, didn't we?
JJ's return.
So yeah, 20 quid that was.
And do you think if Luton continue to struggle and maybe unfortunately do go down, that the demand for season tickets will be wiped? Like will fall a lot? What do you think?
I doubt it, because considering we haven't kicked a ball yet to finish this season, they've already sold 4.5 for next year. So they're doing all right, I think. I think they'll get probably the same again.
I hope so. I hope the support's there to last, and not just people. I mean, people do get accused of jumping on bandwagons for the big games, but yeah, hopefully there's a generation of Luton fans that are going to start following properly.
And let's be fair, like Tranmere you mentioned last week with one of the others, like when we were talking about Crawley as well 2 weeks ago, Luton used to average 7,000 in the conference with decent prices, so we can't accuse their fan base of not being loyal, really, generally.
No.
So we've tried to be fair. I've given 2 6s. This could be one of our lowest. That's a worry. So let's make up for it with character. Now, I would argue, even trying to be impartial, that this is the one area where no fan can rank Luton down. Because it might not be nice, it might not be things you like, but character is things being unique, things being unusual, and things being a talking point at a football ground. And I think Luton has all of those, from the ball getting lost on the little regular stand above the boxes, from there being a row of boxes, and the fact that every time a club comes away to Kenilworth Road, someone is uploading a YouTube video of their walk through the back garden. It must suggest that something is special about the place because it gets talked about, it gets remembered.
Yeah, completely agree. If there's something about a ground that makes hundreds of people get their phones out and take pictures,
even if it is someone's washing.
And even if it's to take the mick, it suggests that that's something you don't see every day and that sticks in your mind. For some of the grounds we've done on this YouTube channel, I like to really almost Google the pictures of what the ground looks like because it's so easily forgettable.
Yeah.
And yeah, you could laugh at Luton's ground, call it a shithole, every name under the sun, but you're never going to forget when you went to Kenilworth Road. And I think that's something special, isn't it? People do take pictures of it, and it is on YouTube and Twitter every other Saturday when someone visits.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's got character, and that's undeniable.
I don't think I can rank it down for this. I mean, I was umming and ahhing because I've given a couple of grounds 9, but they're more modern and they don't have as unique features as Kenilworth Road. I have used a 10 in a series before, and I'm tempted to do it again here because I don't want to come across as just being biased, but I've seen there's features that get brought up at Kenilworth Road I've never seen in the other, probably 40, 50, 60 grounds across the whole of England that I've visited. I haven't seen them anywhere else. It's got only one corner filled in. You can see out the corner of the ground. You can see the houses behind the boxes. It's got a big stand, the main stand. All the seats are different colours and random mashes together where they haven't had money over the years.
Some of the seats in the bottom stand don't even have the backs of the seats. You just they're on wooden
benches as well. Yeah,
benches. I mean, it's a mess, but it's our mess, and it's got a lot of history, and it will be sad when it goes. It does need to go. I think Luton have outgrown it, and if they want to kick on and become an established championship team, they need a stadium approaching 20,000 capacity. 10,000 is not enough, but it is special, and I don't think there's much more I can say about it. I think I've grown to appreciate it more over the years. Like I said, I think maybe when I was a bit younger and hadn't seen so many grounds, I did think, I just want like a modern stadium that's just 20,000 seater, all modern,
nice and comfortable.
Look nice and comfortable. The seats are all the same colour, like every other club. Obviously, I'm exaggerating. I know there are plenty of grounds with character, but now I'm thinking, and maybe it's because I've been away for quite a while now. When I go back, I'm just like, this place, just the pillars that obstruct the views and all that. Yeah, I've grown to love it.
I guess that's the thing, though, isn't it? Is the fact that we've both said we appreciate Kenilworth Road more now, having visited lots of other grounds. Does that probably tell us we're not being as biased as we think we are in that area? Because the fact that we probably would have, if we'd never been to another ground, just given it, it's a 6, 7, 8, whatever. But now we've gone to other grounds, we're saying, actually, Kenilworth Road's still got that special character. And I'd like to think as an away fan, if I'd visited Kenilworth Road once, it's the sort of ground where I go, geez, I remember that. I'd go back again.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think we're talking from a position where we've got quite a well-rounded view now of what stadiums, what are the pros and cons of a football stadium. So yeah, I'd like to think we're not even halfway through, but we've got quite an informed opinion of football grounds now, and the fact we've both come to appreciate it more with age, and we've been going, as we said, since for you over 20 years, or almost 20 years for me. I think that says quite a lot.
Couldn't agree more. We've tried to be fair here. We do need the help for away fans, so I'm going to give this a 10 character. I can't rank
He's
it down.
He's bringing out the 10 out of 10.
I can't bring it down, and I know I'm going to get slated for it, but I'm going to bring out the 10. What are you going to bring out before we round up?
Like I said, maybe you could argue it adds something to it, but I have always found the executive boxes annoying, and I'd rather have like I know financially it probably makes sense for the club, but I'd rather have proper fans and another stand than the money that the boxes generate and the lack of atmosphere from having far fewer people sat there. I'll give it 8 or 9. Which am I going to go for? 9. I'm going 9.
Very good. So you wouldn't have heard from me again if you'd given it an 8 after the other scores. A very tough one for us to be honest and impartial with. So I hope you can forgive us if you do feel we're being biased. We'd love to get the thoughts for away fans. I'm sure that many of you, as Tom says, will call it crap, whatever you want to do. But the fact that you all keep taking videos every time you turn up suggests to me that there's something special about it. So,
you secretly love it.
If you want to say it's crap, stop taking videos of it like it's so special. That's my only advice. But let me know what your experience has been as an away fan. Obviously, the walk through Bury Park, the area that the ground's in, can be a difficult one for away fans. How you found getting to the ground, because they're the bits that we sort of take for granted and can't really give the most informed opinion on. But our overall scores, will be down the bottom. Let us know what you think and how you'd compare. If you did enjoy this episode, please put a thumbs up on it. Subscribe to the channel for weekly episodes from this series and daily content from Football Manager. Thank you to Tom for joining me as always.
Cheers. Have you got a Luton shirt on, by the way?
I've got a Luton merchandised shirt on, yes.
T-shirt. I'm in orange and white.
But it's not paying anything to Luton, is it?
Close enough.
And hopefully we'll see you next time.